Look at
Nice.
that. He just pulls it out.
For the audio for the audio listeners, I definitely need to clarify that
No,
comment.
he just pulled
Carrie?
it out. You wouldn't believe it. So I went through this like roller coaster of emotions. Like, oh, you really got it. Oh, you're playing without me. Oh, I should be happy for you.
Boy, did you guys miss beginning of a show when everything broke just moments ago, but then all the king's horses and all the king's men put everything back together, and we're here to do a podcast. And by we, I mean me, Bill Fairchild, your host, and of course the full panel. Carrie, how's it going today, man? What have you been up to?
Just the same old, same old. I've been working a bunch, and it's been really getting in my way. I've been doing some super secret stuff in the background and making progress. I don't have much to report just yet, but that's what I've been up to.
It was funny because you weren't on the show last week, and somebody said, every time that Carrie's not on the show, I wonder what embargo is about to be lifted.
Yeah.
And then we also have Russ on the show. How you doing, Russ?
Good. I missed last week too. We had spring break, so I was traveling Washington, Oregon, looking at colleges with my oldest son, and that was interesting. He ended up, he liked University of Oregon the best. The Ducks, the campus is pretty cool. But in the end, he was like, "I think I'm just going to go to Hawaii." I'm like, "Cool. Well, I'm glad we did this trip." So it's all good. It works out.
Yeah. Well, it's in state, so at least that'll be a little bit cheaper for you.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
Absolutely.
And then flying back for vacations, you're not going to have to pay for those flights.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely benefits to going local. Rich, how you doing today, man? What's new?
I'm doing great. Been playing a lot of Crimson Desert, so I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that. I want to talk about that later on.
Yeah, we definitely have that to get to, but for crying out loud, 2026 will not chill out. We've had so many news stories, most of them bad. But then today we have one that's kind of like, there's terrible news as far as for gamers goes, but there's a slightly silver lining for Valve, and I definitely want to talk about that. So this was posted today over on the PlayStation official blog. It says, with continued pressures in the global economic landscape, we've made the decision to increase the prices of PS5, PS5 Pro, and PlayStation Portal. Carrie, there you go. Globally, we know that the price changes impact our community, and after careful evaluation, we found that this was a necessary step to ensure that we can continue delivering innovative, high-quality gaming experiences to players worldwide, as long as they have a PlayStation. The updated recommendation retail prices for PS5 consoles are effective starting April 2nd. Today's the 27th, so by the time, we're recording this on the 27th, by the time you guys see this, they'll still be available, so if you want to run out and get them before they get more expensive, there you go. So in the U.S., PS5 is going to be now $649. PS5 Digital Edition will be $600. PS5 Pro will be $900. And then you can look up the prices for your region as well. So what is your, well, first off, the silver lining is now it makes it easier to compare for Valve to compare the Steam Deck to that, because everybody kept saying, well, the Steam Deck versus a PS5, the Steam Deck is not that great of a deal because you can get a PS5 for this price. Well, now the PS5 is a lot more expensive because it's not just the Steam Machine, sorry. Yes. It's not just the Steam Machine that's going up, it's everything that's going up. Everybody's affected. This is terrible. Carrie, what's your reaction to this news?
We all knew that this was coming. This is not a surprise to anyone. I did find that some people were like, who knew this was going to happen? And I'm like, what have you been doing? Have you been paying attention to anything at all?
They haven't been listening to this show.
Certainly you can't just be like, oh, a McDonald's McChicken is $4. That's normal. There's like certain things, I don't know, it's bizarre to me. I think that in one way, all the Xbox price increases were obviously the canary in the coal mine because of how they make stuff. So we kind of had like, I think the Xbox Series X, not crazy one, not the 2 terabyte one, is $650 as well. So now the PS5 and Xbox Series X are in price parity. The Xbox Series X 2 terabyte, which makes no sense for the price, I don't know, is and then the PS5 Pro. The PS5 Pro one caught me off guard. That one I thought was going to be like 800, but 900, I was like, oh, goodness gracious, where did that come from?
Yeah, the other ones went up $100 and the PS5 Pro went up 150, right?
Yeah, and it's just like that one really caught me off guard. I was like, I figured that they would have really tried harder on that. It's a more expensive node, right? That they're using N4P on that instead of N6 and N7 for the PS5, N6 now for the PS5. So it is a more expensive node, and there's just all that cost in there. But poof, $900. And then when I looked at that, you know, we've been talking about the Steam Machine. We've had countless conversations. It always winds up sneaking in these podcasts that we talk about. So it does get a little bit of a reprieve, like insofar as perception. So now that those costs have gone up, now the Steam Machine has a little bit more wiggle room to be in that space.
I almost feel like Valve should just say, okay, now we put a sticker on it and we say this is the price right now. If they wait, it's a mistake. Rich, do you agree with that, or do you think, no, they can wait?
I completely agree with that. Now is the time. This is the time. And I think like this, you know, we've been talking about price about the Steam Machine for such a long time, but this sort of goes back to the spirit of what, Carrie, I think you were alluding to in the beginning, which is like, you think it's going to be $500. And when you anchor that prediction to the price of the PS5, now that anchor sort of comes back, right? Like that prediction sort of comes back where it's like, okay, now I see what the new Steam Machine price is likely going to be. It's probably going to be up to $650, probably something like that. Would you agree?
It can balloon up to there, and it's not a terrible comparison. Like it's a little bit worse than a PS5, but better CPU, but also has all the features of a PC and free online and all that other stuff. So I think it can comfortably rest at $650, even though I think that's still a little bit too high. I would personally want it to be $600 myself, and I think that they should strive for that, because then it makes a lot of sense. Then you can just be like, oh yeah, for sure, the PS5 is good, but a Steam Machine at $600 also makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Russ, you've been thinking about getting one?
Yeah, so I have an old school PS5 digital edition, and one thing to bear in mind that I actually appreciate about this is that they gave us 5 days notice. Mm-hmm. So last year they raised their prices by $100 in August, and they gave a 1-day notice for that. They're like starting tomorrow, basically. So I appreciate that they gave it 5 days, and already I'm seeing promotions from like GameStop saying, hey, trade your old one in now, upgrade it to a Pro while you can before the prices go up. And I think it's smart on GameStop's part, but I personally kind of been thinking about it because I've got my digital one that I have is the old one, and it's I bought it for $400 retail back in 2020, 2021 or wherever. And they're now offering, I'm a GameStop Pro member because I bought a bunch of cheap games and it was cheaper to get that, And so I still have that membership. And so it's $330 is their trade-in value. So I could take my $400 machine, get $330 for it towards a PS5 Pro. I just don't know. I've never paid attention to it. I never get the pros. So I don't know if it's actually worth that benefit of spending, which would come out to be about $350, whether or not it's worth it for me. But I'm kind of thinking about it. I might mess around with it. There's some logistical issues. Like I put the D-brand dark plates on my PS5. So it looks super cool, but I don't know if GameStop will be happy with that. So I got to find my old plates.
Oh, yeah, I did that too. I didn't even think about that. I think Go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say that deal is incredibly tempting. And if I was playing all of these games that came out this year and are coming out this year, like Resident Evil Requiem and Crimson Desert, if I was playing them on PS5, that would be no question. I would want to take that upgrade while I can get it. Yeah.
Not to mention that just now, do we have the latest version of PSSR that is actually good? So, if you got a PS5 Pro on launch, you probably feel like you got a little cheated because in a lot of comparisons, image quality was actually worse than a PS5 with the version of PSSR that they were using. Mm-hmm. And now the latest version that they're using, which I think is lined up with FSR 4.1.
It's better.
Yeah, it's a ton better. So like now is like a great time, like quite literally this is now the time to buy because everything's kind of lining up. If you prefer playing on PlayStation and you were interested in the Pro, this is likely going to be one of the last times that you're going to get that $150 savings. So take advantage of it.
At the same time, though, I keep thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to play on this? Because it's like, our PS5 has been an Astrobot machine for a year now, and so that's the thing stopping me. It's like, yes, I would have a nice piece of kit, for a good price, but it means nothing if you don't play it. And so I think that I probably won't ultimately do it, but I like going through the exercise, kind of thinking, what kind of world do I want to live in, in terms of like, what am I willing to go with? And I think I'm just going to stick with what I have, but it is a good deal. If anyone else is looking to upgrade to PS5 Pro, you're in a similar situation as me before April 2nd, then definitely jump on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm back and forth. Like, I was already considering picking up a PS5 Pro, like trading in and upgrading to a PS5 Pro, just because Marathon is a game that doesn't run on Linux, and my main machine is a Linux machine, although there's something kind of weird about that, which I'll talk about later, maybe on a different show. But my main machine's a Linux machine, so I ended up buying it on PlayStation, and then I had played in the what was the trial thing? What was that trial thing?
Cryo Archive?
No, the trial, like before it came out.
Smash the Server Slam.
Server Slam, that was it. Yeah. So I had played in the Server Slam, and I didn't have to have PSN. But then when I bought the game, it was like, you need PSN, and I was like, son of a bitch, I didn't see that coming. And I should have, because, it's not like I don't pay attention to video games. You know what I mean? So then I was like, well, I guess I'm going to get PSN again. And I ended up like, it's cheaper if you get it for the whole year. So I bought the whole year. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe I should get a PS5 Pro. But then, Russ just said the exact same thing, the exact thing. What am I going to be playing? Right now, I'm only playing Marathon on it, so who cares? It's fine. It runs wonderful.
That passed my feed as well. And I don't know why they would do it, to be honest, because it's like terrible. But I guess PlayStation just has like a whole bunch of bad news that they're kind of like sprinting through for some reason. It's like, let's just get rid of all. Let's close studios. Let's raise the price. Also, let's raise the price of PSN as well, which is not announced. But I heard someone say that's the next thing that's coming, and I was just like, oh goodness. But here's the thing. This is actually unusual. Anytime that Sony has ever had bad news, Microsoft has always been there to be like, I got you. Don't worry, boo.
Yeah.
And this time, they're not doing it. So it's really odd. This is like a first occurrence that never happening. But PSN went up. That'd be brutal.
Do you credit Asha with that?
I guess, right? Like, I got to give it to her, right? Like, like someone came by and was like, "Hey, do you want to back up Sony here?" I'm like, what? All right. So yeah, good job, Asha. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, already, this is all going good so far.
Hey, she hasn't screwed up yet. We just gotta give her the benefit of the doubt for now and see how things go. And until she makes a huge mistake, then we can be like, we friggin' knew it, AI person. Because she was the AI guy. AI guy.
Instacart.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you. I forgot. Let's get back to the Steam machine angle of this, because, like, okay, if Valve ships right now, first off, let's just take the temperature of the room. How many think that Valve is is there a klaxon going off somewhere? All the people that work at Valve are running into a room to say, do we push the button? And Gabe is sitting there with his finger on a button waiting for you. If you guys say go, I'm going to go.
I think they should wait. It's April 1st is when the PS5 Pro price changes, right?
April 2nd, yeah.
April 2nd. So they should it'd be better to do April 1st, wouldn't it? April 1st will be better, I think. April 1st, they should totally do it. Also, they should have like a $500 price just so people don't believe it.
That would
That
be
would be
amazing.
funny.
That would be amazing.
Can you imagine? Oh, look at this $500 Steam machine. Nice joke.
It's like the remember the ROG Ally had that trailer on April 1st. I'm like, why did you pick this day? You know, and it just caused all sorts of confusion. It worked out, but yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think we actually answered. Do you guys think that they're in a room waiting to push a button, or do you think that they were like, you know what, we still got too much work. We got too much RAM to collect before we can ship. I'm going to start with Rich.
I think Valve, certainly they move on their own time. So, you know, they're less likely to be impacted or to make a decision by based on this than I would be, right? Like I would be like, yes, let's do this right now. But I think they have to at least be talking about it, right? They have to at least be considering the fact that this is a good time. But of course, also, like you said, there's the RAM thing, right? So like there's only so much to go around, and they probably want to launch with a certain amount of units. At the end of the day, though, I think, yes, they're taking this into consideration, and this could move the needle for them. That's what I would bet on.
You betting on that, Russ? Or do you think, no, they're going to stick with their regular plan that they already had?
Yeah, I think that this probably gives them some comfort. I would say, if anything, they're like, okay, you know, it's like it's making ours a better deal. It's, to be clear, this is a worse deal for everybody, right?
For
like
everyone.
this is like we're like celebrating. Hey, look, Steam Machine is now a more viable price point, but it's like, well, but it's also like everything is bad. You know, like there's a whole element there. So yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they could at least announce the price somewhat soon, you know, and maybe not be able to get it out, but they could start taking pre-orders and stuff. This gives them some confidence. I don't think it's going to be $500 or $600. I'm thinking more $700 now, but I can't remember what I said last time that we did predictions, but that's kind of where I'm feeling it. And that makes sense given the pricing. If a PS5 $650, then theirs being, you know, $700 kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, especially if there's no subscription. My prediction last time, like my original prediction was $650 is how much it would cost. And then I bumped that up $100 when the RAM shortage reared its ugly head. So $750 is where I was really landing on. So I think $7 is also within that realm of possibility. And it wouldn't seem so painful. But, you know, Russ is right. This sucks for everyone. I think, like, the title of this video, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, and you should, youtube.com/NerdNest, I think the title of this video is, like, PlayStation just gave Valve a W, and we should not celebrate this because this sucks for everyone. It's terrible. Carrie, are they doing this now, or are they waiting?
No, I think Rich really nailed it with a summary. I am in alignment with what Rich is saying, is that they will do it on their own time. Though I think that, you know, they all get like could exhale. Like when that was, they're like, whoo, like goodness, thank you. We needed that good news because we were just sitting on pins and needles, just like, oh goodness, when we do this, we're going to get dragged. And you know, when the price comes out, whatever the price is, like even if it's $750, like even if it's $800, right, which should be an awful price, a terrible price for the Steam machine, it would be at least in the realm of like, well, Xbox raised their price and PlayStation, it's just a bad time. It's just like it's out of their hands. Like, what are you gonna do? And I feel like that is like the best news for them, even though it sucks generally for everyone. But everyone, or I would hope, more people are now very aware of all of the economics of everything going on right now.
Yeah, and the one reason why I don't think that they're going to pull the ripcord right away, though I think that they'll probably stick to their regular plan, even though I think here's the reason why. The PlayStation price isn't going back down. The Xbox price isn't going to go back down. This is our new reality. Now, these are the prices of consoles. When when Helix comes out, whenever it comes out, like it's going to be more expensive than it needed to be because of the RAM shortage. And everybody's going to be like, well, yeah, there's no RAM. So that's how it works. And now we've just set a new low bar.
Yeah, and my point to this too is that it kind of makes me sad about it. I mean, part of me is just like, thankfully I do have a PS5 right now, but this just raises the barrier to entry for people coming into buying consoles. We all grew up playing consoles and that wonderful experience and whatnot. And, to think of some families not being able to hit this price point, which I think is valid, it's scary and it's sad. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's going to be used stuff out there. Go grab an Xbox 360, and get some old discs, and you can have a great time. And that's something that we kind of didn't have that option as kids. Like we were there for the beginning of those home consoles, and so there were not old used consoles that we could get for cheap. And so, in some ways, they're in a great spot, but at the same time, I do feel bad for folks like that who, it's just a higher cost to even just get into the console, modern console gaming right now.
You're right. If you want to play the new games, you're kind of beat. And the other thing that you just kind of reminded me of is when I was a kid, there was like one kid in our neighborhood that had a Neo Geo. Whoa. Neo Geos were stupid expensive. The cartridges were like $200, and this is back in the 80s and 90s. Like, these were very, very expensive. This was the rich people machine, And this guy who happened to live around the corner, his parents had more money than sense, and they bought him a Neo Geo, and nobody else had that. We all had the Nintendo or the Sega Master System or whatever it was, or the Atari, whatever it was, whatever people had. But now all of the consoles I saw, they're now going to be like that unreachable price for most people, I think.
Yeah, everyone's going to have a Neo Geo now.
No one's going to have one.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rich.
Well, I was just going to say on that note, yes, I agree with everything you guys are saying. And in a way, I'm sort of and it's not just consoles, right? It's also PC gaming hardware. And there's a part of me that's mourning, right? This era that we've had of gaming hardware, that was affordable and great. And, to an extent that's been gone for a while. But what it is right now is even worse than, I think we could have imagined. And so, yeah, part of me is mourning that. And there are a lot of good things and a lot of things to be happy about when it comes to gaming specifically, not necessarily in the world, but when it comes to gaming, there's a lot of things to be happy about, but hardware is not there right now. And it sucks.
Yeah. This particular, at the tail end of this generation and a bit even before it, there was already a growing sense of, I can only speak anecdotally for the kids around me, my kids themselves, and then their friends, and then my nephew and his friends. All of them were playing, on iPads or, on a PC. And I've seen that progression happening, and I think that's just going to happen even more, where a parent will more likely get an iPad over a console, because an iPad, it can go on flights, it can go on places, it can be taken with them, it's always with them, and it's always this thing. So I see the iPad being the entry point for them to do things. And then you have games not Fortnite on iOS at the moment, but you do have Roblox on iOS. And there's a lot of kids that they're playing that, and I see that general path just increasing even more at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how all this goes, because it's, everything's getting more expensive. No one, layoffs are happening left, right, and center. So no one has, it's just a terrible, terrible time. So free to play games are going to be, paramount. And I don't see these particular avenues of things that we grew up loving being super successful at the current moment until, a big change happens.
I just want to ask a question to everybody, and then Rich, I'll let you go. Did you ever imagine that you'd live in a world where you could buy a MacBook for less than a PlayStation?
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Never.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that is upside down world.
Yeah. And to put a finer point on what Carrie's saying too, right? It's probably not just that parents are like, oh, this can go on flights and things like that, but it's also I'm going to get them a laptop anyway. I'm going to get them a tablet anyway for their work or for whatever they're doing. And then kids are just going to use whatever they have to play games. So even more of this is a way to save money, right? It's just use what you have, and it doesn't matter that it's not a dedicated gaming console. And so I agree with Carrie. We're probably just going to see even more of that. That's been growing tremendously, and it's probably not going to stop anytime soon.
Hey, we're dying, Jen.
Go ahead. What'd you say, Carrie?
we're a dying generation. We're just total dinosaurs. We listen to our old music. We listen to the music that we listen to. We play games that we played, and that'll be it.
That's right. And let us know what music you're listening to and what games you're playing and what you think of this PlayStation news and how, does it help the Steam machine, or is that just a false equivalency? Let us know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And we are going to move on to our next topic. It's the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo is 35 years old. And last week at the very tail end of the show, Rich, for some reason, brought up Super Nintendo. I can't remember why. And it just made me think, okay, I want to talk about our experiences with the Super Nintendo growing up. And I figure everybody has like a story, everybody our age. And by our age, I mean my age and then these guys who are slightly younger than me. But everybody our age has a story about the Super Nintendo. For me, I was literally down the street at my friend Matt's house. We were playing basketball in the front yard. And our buddy, I think it was Jonathan. I can't remember who it was, but I think Jonathan rode up on his bike and he was like, guys, there's a new Nintendo system, because we didn't know about it, right? He said, there's a new Nintendo system and it's up at the Woolworth, which Woolworth was like our local department store. And so we dropped the ball. We all jumped on our bicycles and we pedaled our asses up to Woolworth. And, we locked him out back. We walked upstairs. The electronics section was in the top floor and all the way in the back. So we walked upstairs and we went all the way to the back. You had to ride the escalators up back and forth, all the way to the back. And in the back of the electronics section, they had this tiny little TV and Super Mario World was playing, and you could only play the first level. And so we would go up there and we were sitting there, we're playing, because none of us had the money to buy a Super Nintendo. So we're playing this and we're like, these graphics are the most insane thing we've ever seen. Our minds were all blown. And you know how kids get when they're excited. We were being loud and rambunctious. And eventually the guy who worked in the electronics section had enough of our bullshit. And he was like, you guys are out of here. So we left. And about an hour later, we came back. He goes, you guys got to be quiet this time. And we're like, okay, we'll be quiet. We'll be quiet. And we played for about an hour, just the first level over and over again. We were just taking turns trying it out. We were just having so much fun with it until he kicked us out again. And that went on and on and on until eventually we all got our hands on the Super Nintendo. And man, it to this day, it is one of my all-time favorite systems. But I want to hear your guys' stories about this. Russ, you're the retro guy. You got to have a good Super Nintendo story. I just set him up. Now he can't disappoint. You got to really guess.
Yeah. So I never had the Super Nintendo growing up. We got the Sega Genesis, so we were like totally different, console. But even before I got the Genesis, like we had heard rumblings that the Super Nintendo was coming or whatever. And there was this kid on my bus. I may have told this story before, but he said he had one at home. And we're like, the kid was kind of a liar, like he would just make up stuff. And we're like, no, you don't, And he's like, no, come over and do it. And so like I went over to his house. I'm like, I want to call him out on it, right? And he had it, and he had Mario World, and I didn't even know it was out yet. And he had it, and so I played with him like that night, and then like I think I stayed for dinner, and then I was like, that was just cool to actually be able to play it and see it. And same thing, blown away by the graphics and stuff. But yeah, growing up, I never had it. I would just play it at friends' houses. And I learned how to play Street Fighter from that, Sometimes I had a friend who, he didn't have one either, but his mom would let him rent the whole console, So we'd rent the whole console plus a couple games. And I remember playing a lot of Street Fighter. Soul Blazer was the first role-playing game I played, which was an old Square game, or not Square, Square game. And it was just a really cool console. I loved the sound of it. Like the audio I always felt was a little bit cooler than some of the Genesis games. And yeah, that was really about it. I did eventually buy one when I was like in my 20s. After I joined the Navy, I got real bored and I was like, let me go buy a Super Nintendo and play some of these games. And so I just kind of relived. And that's when I actually played through games like Mario RPG and stuff. I was in my 20s by then. But yeah, loved the console. But we were a Genesis family. It was cheaper. And then eventually we got all the add-ons for that too. So 32X and Sega CD.
Did you have that awful light gun? What the hell was it called?
Super Scope?
That was for the Super Nintendo.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have the Genesis, any of that. We just had those two. But we had the old school Genesis and the old school CD, like the stack, right? It wasn't the one that was side by side like the newer generation of Sega CD.
You had the CD.
We had the old school stack of it, which that one was cool. Like it had a headphone jack and a volume meter on it, which was kind of a unique thing. So we could like put in headphones and then play quietly so my parents didn't hear, Yeah.
Nice.
Look at that. He just pulls it out.
For the audio for the audio listeners, I definitely need to clarify that comment.
No, he just pulled it out. You wouldn't believe it.
It was such a good story.
Whenever I get the opportunity, I'm like, oh crap, I have that near me. Let me do that.
Well, Carrie, you just kind of jumped into it. Let's hear your Super Nintendo story.
So mine is similar to Russ's. So let me when growing up, the area that I was in, you would be like a leper if you ever admitted that you played video games. So seldom would you ever actually admit that out loud, but you'd find a few people talking about it. I heard this one kid. Now, I knew about the Super Nintendo coming out before. I was a GamePro and EGM subscriber. So I had GamePro and EGM every month. So I would read that all the time. And I love those. And so I knew about the Super Nintendo coming out in advance. And I knew it was not coming out until, what was it, September? Forget the date, but I knew it was late. It would be like after summer or something like that. Anywho, I hear this kid talking. He's like, "Oh, I have a Super Nintendo," and I'm like, "No, you don't," because I knew it wasn't out yet. And he's swearing up and down that he has it. And you know how schools work. Like you're in like districts, right? So like you kind of know like the blast radius of like a school. Like someone has to live around there. Anyway, one day he's out and the teacher is like, I forget his name. I think it's Keith something. He's out and she's like, oh, he needs his homework. And I was like, I'll take it to his house. I had no idea where this dude lived, right? Like I did not know where he lived. The only thing I knew is that he must be in some vicinity around this school. So I kid you not, for 2 hours, I like patrolled in a larger and larger circle asking everyone if they knew
Keith?
Yes, like and the last name, and I don't at the time I don't remember the last name now, but that was what I was doing, and I did find someone. They're like, oh yeah, I think that he lives over there in that apartment and whatever, and like, all right, so I go and then I see his last name on the thing. I'm like, oh, I push the button and it's like, is Keith home? And like, oh yeah. So I go and I walk up. I'm like, oh, I'm going to see a Super Nintendo. And he opens up the door, totally not sick, completely fine. That's fine. I know look, we all did it, right? We took off days when we're not sick. Anyway, I was like, here's your homework. Can I see your Super Nintendo? And he holds it. He's like, oh, I don't have it. And I was like, you bum. I knew it. I knew you were lying, you liar. So that was just like the whole Russ story of like calling a liar. But I found him out. I wrote out his lies.
In my defense, though, I will say, so I lived in the Seattle area, and so Redmond is very nearby.
Right.
And so we were one of the test areas. And so I think we got the NES early. And so that might have been some factor to it. I don't know. I was 11 at the time, so I have no idea in terms of dates and stuff. But that could have been an issue too as well.
Right. So, so my first Super Nintendo story was a complete fabrication of like a school chum that was completely lying through his teeth for no reason, just to do it.
For clout.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, like, I was like, no, it isn't. It's not out yet. But you can like, there's not enough real information that you have at the time. You have magazines and like, you're like, oh, maybe things slipped, maybe this, maybe that. Right next to New York, and it's like, who knows?
I love that you've been fact checking for 35 years. You canvass the area.
Oh yeah, like dude, like that's how hardcore. Like I am, like I was hardcore into video games. And like so, yeah. When if someone told me they had a Super Nintendo and I have not seen it yet, I am going to like, like I would go to import shops to play games in advance because I knew Japan would get them first and then they would come out later. So there's lots of times that I would even just do that because of how interested I was in them. So yeah, but the real story of how I got a Super Nintendo was uneventful. I got it for my birthday. I saw the packaging, and when I picked it up, it was heavy as sin. I don't remember why. I don't remember what they did. I don't know if they put in a fake box with like fake weight in it. But I remember I picked it up and I was like, oh man, it's heavy. And my brother, he was like, oh yeah, mom got you a weight set. And I was like, oh, like I don't want a weight set on a Super Nintendo. And then, I got it for my birthday, opened it up, and I was like, oh, and Super Mario World was an amazing pack-in game. Super Mario World was far better than I thought it would ever be. And I really very much enjoyed it. But that's so my Super Nintendo story is not all that like my actual Super Nintendo story when I got it isn't as fun as routing out the liar that tried
True Detective.
Right?
coming this fall to HBO.
The Super Nintendo liar.
Yeah.
Rich, you got any fun stories about SNES?
Not particularly fun. I think you guys have it. I will say that, first of all, I did remember why I brought it up last time. I was reading a book, Game Over No Rematch. Yeah, I think that's the name of it. And he goes through all of these like pivotal moments, and that was definitely one of them. What I do remember is I came home. I know I was asking for it for Christmas or whatever, and I was definitely being told, no, you're not getting that. But I came home one day and they were playing it. Like my family was playing Super Mario World. So I went through this like roller coaster of emotions. Like, oh, you really got it. Oh, you're playing without me. Oh, I should be happy for you. So it was just this roller coaster of emotions. But yes, Super Mario World took over my life after that day for sure.
So, question for you guys. I had a hard time with the shoulder buttons back when it first came out. I was like, this is too complicated. My fingers weren't ready for that, Did you guys have any of those same like adjustment issues when you had a new input like that?
No.
I think when you hand a video game controller today to a non-gamer, they have this ridiculous amount of bullshit to overcome.
Yeah.
But we got it given to us one small piece at a time over decades. And that is a really weird thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything that we started out with one button. Then there were two buttons. Then there were four buttons. Then they added on the little whatever. It's really interesting to me how that happened. But I don't remember ever having trouble with those. But like in Super Mario World, those were only like you could just move the camera a little bit to the left and right.
Yeah.
It really came for me with Street Fighter because those were the two heavies, right? And so I had to go in and remap it every time in the options because I was like, I can't. I'd make them the lights, basically. I'm like, I can do a light every once in a while, but I need my heavies to be a face button. So that was a big adjustment I had to learn with.
That's what I was going to say. I remember Street Fighter giving me a hard time with the shoulder buttons where if I want, especially the left one, if I wanted to, what was that, kick?
Yeah.
That was punch. No, that was punch.
That was punch.
Okay. Yeah. That left
kick.
one was giving me all sorts of trouble. So yeah, I remember that.
The fun fact, and I believe this is a true thing, but ZL and ZR were supposed to make it into the Super Nintendo and they didn't. So
wait,
it was
like double shoulder buttons?
L2, R2, yeah.
Wow.
I did not know that.
And they were actually called ZL and ZR. If I recall correctly, I could be completely wrong. I remember reading this somewhere. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I could be completely wrong. Please call me out if I'm incorrect here. It's just a factoid that I had recalled just now when you guys were talking about triggers. So I'd be completely bad. Oh,
how hilarious would it be? Hold on. How hilarious would it be if it was Keith that fact checked you?
No, who's a liar?
If you are watching us, let us know in the comments.
Yes, and make sure you call him Detective Carrie.
Real quick funny story about Genesis. So Genesis 1989, I remember walking to the store and wanting it and then getting it later. And I think in like second grade or third grade or whatever, I was in an English class and the teacher was talking about it, and she was saying,
Your English teacher was talking about the Sega Genesis?
No. She was like, it's the weekend. Did anyone get anything fun? Did anyone get anything? And everyone's answering something. I'm like, oh, I will talk about the Genesis. So I raised my hand and I'm like, I got Genesis. And she said, I love that band. And I had no idea what she was talking about.
Oh, Genesis is awesome.
Not when I was in second or third grade. I did not know that band existed. So when she said, I love that band, I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking about?
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
Very cool. Well, let us know your retro Super Nintendo stories in the comments down below. But we're going to move on to our next topic. And that next topic is okay. This is earlier, Carrie, you said, Microsoft always says, hey, PlayStation has some bad news, so why don't we ride to the rescue and distract everybody from the PlayStation bad news? We might be getting ads coming to Game Pass. This is really strange. It's rumors right now. Let's talk about it. The information reported is that one of her ambitions, and her is, what's her name again? I forgot. Sharma?
Yeah, Sharma.
Sharma, yeah. Sharma, one of her ambitions is to help make future consoles and products like Game Pass more enticing to a broader range of customers. To that end, the report said that Sharma might look to revamp pricing models for Game Pass to offer lower price tiers. Sounds awesome. In October 2025, Microsoft raised Game Pass prices, with Game Pass Ultimate going up 50% to $30 a month. Premium costs $15 a month, and Essential is $10 a month. PC Game Pass costs $16.50 per month while it exists. In terms of a lower price tier for Game Pass, it has been reported that Microsoft could offer an ad-based tier for Game Pass in the future. In fact, it was reported that people may be able to watch ads in exchange for playing Game Pass titles for free. Xbox and then we'll talk about the whole Netflix thing in a little bit. So let's start with this rumor about ads, ad-supported tier for Game Pass. I'm gonna ask two questions, as I always do when we have a rumor. Number one, do you think that this rumor is true? Do you think Microsoft is exploring the idea of allowing people to watch ads in exchange for playing Game Pass titles for free? And then, after we talk about if it's true, the second question is, what do you think about that? So, Russ, I'm going to start with you. Go.
Yeah. So, I think the ad-supported tier kind of just as a user, it makes sense to me. If I'm going to be playing a Game Pass game and I can get a discount for it, and you're just telling me that when I boot it up, I got to watch a video, that's just the time I'm going to go grab a drink. You know what I mean? It's fine. Or a snack, right? And so for me, it's fine. I was actually looking at the tiers as you guys were talking, and the Game Pass Essential, $10 a month or whatever, it's only got 50 games on Game Pass compared to 500 plus with Game Pass Ultimate. And so that's really the rub for me. It's whether or not it's going to give you access to the games you want to play, because that's going to be the tier, I think, that really separates things. Whether or not it's an ad, as long as it's just before the game starts, if there's a queue or whatever those things you have to do. I was perfectly happy with GeForce Now at that free tier, where I was like, I can't believe this is free. Yeah, there's an ad. I'll go grab a snack or whatever. For me, that was always great. And so if we see something like that where it's discounted, if they're trying to reach a broader audience, I think people will be okay with it. I don't want ads in any of this stuff, but I think that's probably a fair way to lower the prices for them.
What do you think about it, Carrie?
It depends on how egregious the ads are. Is it going to be maybe when the AI comes around, it'll be like Truman Show thing, and in the game, it's Ovaltine. You can get some, what the hell? Who are you talking to? What the hell are you talking about? It's so if it's like that would be truly terrible. I mean, really bad. So I hope it's not that. If it's a video,
I gotta jump in. When you said Ovaltine, it made me think of A Christmas Story, where he gets his decoder after eating, and it says drink more Ovaltine. And I'm imagining You're playing the next Fallout. You know how when you hack the things and it's like CFRF or whatever, and when you hack it, it's like subscribe to Game Pass or something like that, or Tide Pods, eat them while they're fresh, or whatever it is.
It's gonna be like, it really depends on the type of thing it is, and like if it's just a video in the beginning, like okay, you can kind of navigate around that with some different patterns of how you're going to do things. Like Russ said, get a drink or something. But you can't like just be like, oh, you've been playing for 5 minutes, have an ad for 90 seconds. And it's just like, that's a surefire way to someone like, actually, I'm not going to play at all. I'm just going to stop playing. So I don't feel like that is a winning thing.
Imagine playing imagine playing Super Meat Boy and and ad loads every time you die.
You know, like there's games that there is no actual pause button, right? Like, you know, there's just like you pause, like a menu comes up, but the game is still going. And it's like, oh, okay, well that certainly sucks for me. Like I don't know what's going on to my character right now. I'm probably dead. Who knows? You're like, and that's the end of that ad. And then, so it's like lots of things that can go there. Although I also did hear another twist on this ad supported lower cost one, that there would be a lower cost one, no ads, but only Microsoft Studio games, no other indie games, no other thing, literally just Microsoft Studio games. And that's also appealing. So I think when we're hearing all these things, like sometimes you get these where the rumors are like allowed to percolate so that they can get unsolicited feedback from places and see how people feel. So I don't know. I think it's probably in some realm of truth where they're looking to offer another tier or try to condense and do whatever and make things a little bit more clear. Because it's how they have it right now. Like the Game Pass Essentials is still needed for online play, right? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably.
So
at least
I will say that how they
Helix.
roll out these ads is going to be really important. Like, so I'm a T-Mobile guy with my phone, right? And it comes with free Hulu, but it's like Hulu with ads. And the ads are so bad that I just don't even use it. You know what I mean? And so there's definitely like a slope there. And I do hope that if they are going to do something ad supported, that it does make it so it's, I don't know, at least palatable.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, to the question of whether or not the rumor is, if there's some truth to it, I have to believe that, first of all, everything's on the table, but certainly that something like this is on the table for Microsoft. Charlotte Lazard gives her like what she pictures is the ideal scenario for a lot of these corporations. She gives it a lot of times where it's like, imagine you're watching an ad for a game on your phone and you press a button and then you're just playing that game on your phone, right? Like that's, if Microsoft could accomplish that with Game Pass, and it would make sense to do it on like an ad supported tier or something like that, where you don't necessarily have to be locked in, but you're able to flip that button and now you're playing the game. That would be huge for Microsoft. To me, it still seems like so far away. It still seems like it's not close to being possible, but who knows?
Google had that with Google Stadia. You could be watching a video and then you could just push a button and you could play that game instantly. It was amazing. Really weird.
It made a lot more sense for like specifically YouTube, right? That synergy of YouTube and Stadia. There was that synergy. But OnLive, and I think we've had this conversation. I've said this before, but OnLive, the first game streaming service that came out.
Hold on, is that the one that was bought by PlayStation, or is that the one that was bought by Microsoft?
No. PlayStation owns it now, but OnLive became Gaikai, and then Sony bought Gaikai, and is who knows like what type of how much of that technology they still have. But Burnout Paradise was specifically like there is functions in Burnout Paradise where you could do that whole wall of TVs of people playing and see them. And in Burnout Paradise, you can be watching someone and say, oh, I want to play with them. And Burnout Paradise had the feature where it was like, oh, OnLive, the second player came in and you just like look at their thing and then all of a sudden your car comes in and then you are focused on that car and it's completely seamless. And it was like, oh, wow, that's something that cloud streaming offers that nothing else offers. And that's super cool. Yeah. And nothing really happened with it. So it'll be interesting but I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like if anyone was going to do it, YouTube is probably the better bet.
Well, they tried it and it never worked.
Right.
And, speaking of things that, streaming from the cloud allowed you to, the Division 2, again, on Google Stadia, it was the only place where you could do this. When you played that, like if I was playing with you guys, I could see your screens on my screen as little windows on the right-hand side. So if like we're teamed up and we're doing a dungeon or whatever, I could see exactly what you guys were doing. So like if Carrie called out, wow, hey, there's something to my left or whatever, I could look at his screen and see where he's talking about easily. It was a really cool feature. At the same time, I was so focused on looking at my crosshairs that I usually didn't look over there. But when you watch somebody playing and you can see all that stuff happening, you're always like, that's really freaking cool that they can do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was just going to say, I'd be remiss if I didn't also like tie this back to the PS5 story. Like part of me has felt, as long as cloud gaming has been a thing, like there's no price that makes sense for both the gamer and the corporation. Like if you price it well for the gamer, it's going to be too low for the corporation to make back, the data center spend that they're spending. That formula has to change a little bit with gaming hardware going the way it's going, right? Like these corporations are just acquiring all of this hardware anyway for their data center, specifically Microsoft, right? So they have this hardware, and now it makes more sense for them to trade some of that usage, especially off-peak hours, to gamers to get back some ad money, to get back even just a little bit of that money. I think that equation just flips a little bit, and they can now start to have prices that make more sense for both the gamer and for Microsoft.
The one thing that I'll say in response to that is like the whole reason that we've been talking about this is because of the possibility of ads coming to give you free access to Game Pass games. In my experience, the ads always start in the free tier. And then they find some way to migrate up to the other tiers. And then you're like, well, my wife and I were watching Downton Abbey, which if you've never seen it, it's a freaking great show. But we were watching Downton Abbey on Amazon. We had already seen it, but the new movie was coming out. So we were going through and like rewatching the series to refresh because it's been a long time. And like halfway through our rewatch, suddenly we started seeing ads. And we're like, what the hell? And it was because Amazon had changed the rules or something. And it was an extra $1 per month to get rid of those ads again, where we were already on the ad-free plan, but then they changed the plans. And it's like, that stuff drives me crazy. And if Microsoft is going to put ads in Game Pass, they're going to say, well, for now it's in the free tier, but, next year it's going to be in, what's the lowest tier called?
Essentials.
Next year it'll be in Essentials. And then the year after that, it'll be in the middle tier or whatever. And then it'll just be in all of them. And then it's just ads all the time. You're going to be in the middle of a game and somebody's going to pop up on the bottom of the screen and they're going to be like, hey, look at me in the middle of your game, interrupting you like they used to do in 90s TV.
Yeah, there's no question in my mind that you're right? Like the rug pull will continue to happen, and it just will continue to get worse. So I'm with you. I think that there is a chance for this, in an ideal state, to be something that can be attractive to gamers, but there's just no chance in my mind that it stays that way.
Yeah, so I'm going through looking at the Game Pass list of all the games available in the Essential category. So that's the $10 a month one. And all of these games are older games or like former, like previous generation games, like Halo 5 is on here, stuff like that. There's Celeste, there's Slay the Spire and stuff. All these games for me are games that you could pick up on sale for $10 or less, And that's one of those things that's like, okay, that really narrows the kind of window for people who are interested in Game Pass Essential, because it's mostly just going to be, the way I'm looking at it, is that it's somebody who's never played any of these games before. They're finally going to get into it. They don't know which games to buy yet. So they'll spend their $10 a month to try out all these games and then go out and maybe buy them. If they're smart, then they can just go and buy those ones when they're on sale for $10 or less each. And that might be a better deal for them altogether. So, I think that the Game Pass Essential, beyond just making it cheaper, adding ads to whatever, I think just the games and the titles that they're offering is something that doesn't seem to have a lot of allure to it. You know, it doesn't have all the Fortnite or the EA or the Ubisoft games and stuff. You have to get Ultimate for all that.
Not that anybody wants that stuff.
Well, maybe new players would want that. I mean, Fortnite, I feel like it'd still be a draw for people. I'm like, oh, I can play this on console instead of, on my phone or whatever. So,
yeah. Well, let us know what you guys think. Would you exchange your time to play Game Pass games for free? Let us know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And we're going to move on to our next topic, which is still about Microsoft, because Microsoft and Netflix they've been talking, as the kids say. They've been thinking about whether or not they want to, go steady, as they said back in my day a long time ago. They've been thinking about whether or not they want to try and get rid of the churn. And for anybody who doesn't pay close attention to like streaming TV shows and stuff like that, churn is basically where somebody says, okay, I want to watch this show, so I'm going to subscribe to this platform. I'm going to binge that show, and then I'm going to cancel my subscription, and then I'm going to subscribe to something else, and I'm going to binge something on that platform, and then I'm going to cancel that subscription, and then repeat. Well, apparently Microsoft and Netflix have been in discussions. They've been kicking around ideas of subscription bundles that would pair Xbox Game Pass with Netflix, which is really strange because Netflix also has games and as part of their subscription. But this is during a recent conversation with The Information. Netflix CEO. Is that a typo? What's a CO? Oh, co-CEO. Never mind. I got you. I thought that was like one of those acronyms. Co-CEO Greg Peters explained that he met with the newly appointed Xbox boss, Asha Sharma, multiple times since she took charge in February. Okay. So let's just say, like, right now, I have Game Pass, but it's running out this month. And the only reason I have it is because of the Xbox Ally X. Like, it came to me as a review unit and it came with Game Pass. So I subscribed to that, but it's running out this month. And I keep getting notifications from Microsoft. Hey, you want to keep going with this? No, because I never play it. So I don't, but I do subscribe to Netflix. And if Netflix and Xbox had a bundle that made it cheaper, then maybe I might be interested in that. And I'm curious, I know Carrie subscribes, but he's got this whole thing where he's been like building up points for 1 billion years. So I know Russ, actually, Rich, you don't subscribe, but Russ, do you subscribe?
I do, but it's, I think I mentioned before, I had game like Xbox Live Gold and I converted it over, and then slowly over time, I've just been extending it every time I get a review unit. And that's going to, like, it's all going to come to a head this summer. Basically, I'm going to be running out. And so, yeah, I have it right now, but I don't know if I'm going to be actually paying $30 a month for that.
Well, okay. So let's say that Netflix and Xbox put out a bundle, obviously, depending on what that price is. Would you be interested in that?
I would, because we have Netflix. It gets a little more complicated to me because of that whole T-Mobile thing, because they like subsidize some of my Netflix. It's like part of their deal and stuff. So I'm already like getting a discount there. So I'd have to look into that. But yeah, like Netflix is one that I don't see going away in our house, and then I do want to have Xbox mostly just for work stuff to be able to try out day one games.
Yeah, I also have Netflix, and it's been one of the constant subscriptions where like I would prefer just to not have subscriptions, but it works out well because someone in the family is usually using Netflix, but the price just went up or is going up again. So we're like, oh, do we keep this? But from just a someone that follows the news perspective, I think this is interesting. And again, it's kind of like, how does this work, right? Because whether we can be talking about games, that's one thing, right? And Netflix has kind of struggled with their gaming model. So maybe this helps them offset that, right? Especially when you heard talks about them acquiring Warner Brothers, right? When that was happening, they kind of said they don't care about games, right? So maybe this is a chance for them to sort of shed that that division of Netflix and focus on what they want to focus on, but sort of still have that, but through Microsoft. So from a business perspective, I'm really interested and kind of fascinated in what shape or what form this will take. But I don't know if it's going to shift me over to subscribing or not.
You know what the interesting thing is? I think from the data points that I've seen for Netflix is that they have effectively stopped. There is a capped spend on the content that they are producing. And where that is now has not grown. So every time that they do get a new subscriber, quite literally all of that is gravy. So what exactly is going on? When the prices increase, does the content budget increase as well? Like what actually happens there?
They make more money.
Yeah, I know that they make more money, but I'm also like Russ. I have T-Mobile, and I did that first, and then Netflix has the ad-supported tier, which you can get completely for free. And then, when you have competing people using it, you can only use 2 at a time. And then everyone starts complaining, and then you don't get HD. And then it's like, actually, if you just buy the more expensive version, so I think it's like $17 or $16 or something a month, which is less bad, and it's not as bad. It's kind of like old Netflix pricing, so it doesn't become as terrible. And if Netflix were to just actually, let's get rid of all of our whole gaming division, no one really uses it. The only thing that they've done, I don't know if you guys have seen on Netflix, is that they have a gaming thing now that is more front and center, and it's more about party games. So you can use your phone for
you don't know Jack or stuff.
Yeah, and it's like that. So you could you get a code on your phone, and then everyone plays with their phone. So it's kind of more board games, party night games through cool. Netflix, which I think. At least we've done it a few times, and the only time I've ever done Android games for Netflix is literally just for review stuff. And it's okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Red Dead Redemption is through Netflix on Android. That's cool. I didn't know that was there. I had zero idea it was there, and apparently it is. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, and I don't know if it would make more sense, right, if they could do that in some fashion. And then if you had both of those things, you really have to get in that tier though of day one games on Game Pass, because as Russ says, no one cares about Essentials. No one cares about Premium. I don't care about any tier of PSN. Nothing, no games, even on the most uber awesome epic PSN tier, do I care about any of the games on there. And the only reason I care about Game Pass at all is because of day one games. So I don't know. I feel like it has to have that at the very least. And I don't know. Do you guys see the thing where Microsoft was ranked the 5th best publisher of games last year? Yeah. So if they did make a tier of okay, you will get day one games, but it's only Microsoft games, and you will not get any other indie games. Doesn't include Ubisoft Plus, doesn't include Fortnite, and that is the one that comes on Netflix in some fashion. I think that would have a lot of success.
I would be excited for that.
Yeah, because Microsoft has a lot of games that are coming out, and who cares about Ubisoft Plus and Fortnite and all this other crap? I can do without that. So I really feel like the day one thing is the far more important thing. So if they could somehow make that work, and Netflix kind of subsidizes that because they're going to get rid of their gaming division and that whole thing, that could be interesting. But they have to really include day one games, otherwise I feel like it's a loss.
Just imagine every single time you boot up a game in Game Pass, you hear the ta-dum.
Yeah, ta-dum.
Yeah, every time. It just boots up with that sound. But let us know what you guys think about that. Do you, if they put a bundle together, how much, you know what, actually, let's not transition to the next topic real quick. I want to know what price would be okay with you guys that we can combine Game Pass Ultimate and Netflix. What would be the price that you guys would be yeah, okay, I could do that. How much is Netflix right now?
So I'm looking at it right now. So it's $9 a month for the one with ads, $20 a month for the standard, that's 1080p, and $27 for the 4K and having up to 6 devices to download on.
Okay, so if you buy them separately, that's essentially $60 a month. What price would it need to be down to for you to say, I'm pulling that trigger?
$30, Ned.
I love
so you're getting one for
$30.
free? That's crazy talk.
Are you thinking 4K 6 devices, Carrie, or are you?
No, I'm thinking it's the
10
somehow like it's not going to be I don't think it's going to be Game Pass Ultimate, right? I don't think Game Pass Ultimate fits into Netflix. I do think a Microsoft games only one day does fit into there better than anything else, especially with all that other crazy crap. So if Netflix can subsidize it by like $5 or something, and then now they're getting $30 instead of 27 or whatever the hell they're going to get, and they can make ends meet somewhere in between, and Microsoft makes it work, that would make sense. But if they go over $30 a month, I think we have like firmly understood that $30 a month for a subscription is already kind of like pain tier for a lot of people. So if they can get Netflix
but not for
and
two
Game
subscriptions.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like two subscriptions for $30, then all of a sudden, now they're $15 a piece, right? Now you're back into old world. You just have to, you get Game Pass day one for Microsoft only, and you get some variant of Netflix. Maybe not the full fat one, but you get some variant of that.
Just to put that in perspective, I have HBO, Hulu, and Disney Plus, all three together for $30 a month. Which is a really good deal.
I think $30 a month is $30 a month. I think whether they want to admit it or not, or they're very much figuring out right now, is like the fatigue price of what people are. Yeah, it's like this is where they are right now. This is where everyone's fatigue level is at, and if you go over that, they will just get rid of it. And I think when people are looking into consolidating things, if Netflix and Game Pass joined, it's interesting. I just think that there's going to be somewhere in there that makes sense. And again, you're talking about it, I'm beating a dead horse here. I really think that it can't be Game Pass Ultimate, because it's just Microsoft will lose money, and I don't think that's a winning price for a bundle. So maybe like 30 for me is still.
Do you think of this as cloud based? Do you imagine like if they're working on something that's going to be a cloud based?
So like cloud based only version of that. If that is the case, I still don't see it being Ultimate. It still has to be Microsoft only games. I could see cloud being in there because that makes a lot of sense. It'd be kind of cool. But I don't know. So just to put that in perspective, I have a Sony TV that I use for my main living room. It's like it came out in 2020, and it was one of the best Android based TVs with 3 gigs of RAM. It was the only most of the TVs had 1 gig of RAM, and Microsoft still does not support that TV on the Android App Store to put Game Pass on there. I have to use Better xCloud to get it to work. And even then, it's kind of not great. So how, like the cloud thing, it kind of does work, but on a lot of TVs, it's just not going to. So it's kind of like this weird kind of thing of like, is it actually going to make any sense? Yeah, no. I'm not discounting it. I think that there is an avenue there, but it's really about like the hardware that could support it that also matters as well.
Makes sense.
Anybody else have prices that you want to shout out, or are you laying in there with Carrie?
I think 30 is fair, and I'm thinking, the 1080p tier, which is that $20 a month tier. And bear in mind, the Netflix prices I just said just went up like a day or two ago. Like this is the higher tier, the higher prices
in
now.
6 months.
I'm sure. And the $20 tier, the 1080p one, plus some Xbox games at $30 makes sense to me. And I think, the idea of keeping it maybe only to day one Xbox games and focusing more on the streaming side, I think that all makes sense. Maybe throw in PC Game Pass, then I'd be happy.
Yeah, right. And I was thinking about it as the $20 Netflix tier, just like you, Russ. So like $20 Netflix tier, plus you get the Xbox stuff, $30 seems like... And I agree with Carrie. That is the cutoff point. I don't want to see a subscription for more than $30. That is like personal entertainment. I'll buy my own entertainment if that's the case.
All right. Let us know what price you're willing to pay in the comments down below. Or maybe you're like, screw this. I don't want Xbox. I don't want Netflix. I'm watching everything on I don't know. I was going to name off a random obscure thing, but now I can't. Tubi. Maybe I'm going to watch everything on Tubi. Let us know in the comments down below. And we got more RAM shortage stuff to talk about because RAM has taken another victim. Storage and RAM prices have skyrocketed, and as a result, we are seeing fewer products in the market. I was never really a huge fan of the PC handhelds for Ayaneo. I really like some of their Android ones. Like, those are pretty nice. I wasn't interested in the Ayaneo Next 2 because it was a ridiculous price. Well, it's such a ridiculous price that they've said, we can't make this thing. It's too expensive. And basically, they've said they're not going to be making the Ayaneo Next 2 for the foreseeable future. I think that they're still fulfilling orders for the people that have already pre-ordered, but you're not going to be able to get them after that. My problem with this is whenever you have fewer products in the market, that's less competition. And when there's less competition, there's less innovation because competition drives innovation. So I think that this is terrible news. Bad news, Bill strikes again. But Russ, you had some other information that you wanted to share.
Yeah, so I got an email this morning from Ayaneo, and it said, hey, just letting you guys know, everything is going up in price. And so it's like, it kind of felt like a marketing thing, but then also it was like a warning. It was like, hey, buy these things now while you can, because we are going to raise the prices on all of them. And even then, they like show a status, and like many of their handhelds, like the Conquer Pocket Fit, which I think was probably the best handheld they've ever made in terms of price to performance.
So good.
It's gone. It's not even on their website anymore. It's unavailable in every single SKU. And then they said that they're going to be relaunching it in phases. So it's like something they'll potentially be able to offer in the future, but it's just gone. And they say it's because of storage component costs. And so, it's a little scary that they're like not only like picking and choosing like the Ayaneo Next 2, they're saying they can't make that one anymore, but they're just full on being like, all of these are going to go up. And they've always been the first. They've always been very clear about, making sure they make their money. And so it makes sense that they're probably the first in this space, at least, to really like jack up the prices wholesale. Everyone else is just kind of trickling them through, like AYN and Retroid and stuff. So yeah, I went to the Ayaneo Next 2 Indiegogo page the other day when they first announced that they weren't going to be offering any future pre-orders, just to see how many people had already pre-ordered, and those people are all going to be fulfilled. Okay.
Don't say how many. I want people to
let me tell you
guess.
what the tiers there are, though. So there's three tiers. So there's they're all Strix Halo, right? So there's the AI 385, so the cheaper one at $1,800. There is the 395, so the full-on one. That one's like $2,500 or something like that. And then there is the Big Bubba with 128 gigs of RAM and also Strix Halo. And that one is retail like $3,500, something like that, but it will... pre-orders $3,500. Retail was going to be like $4,200. That was the one that's got, this is the one with the battery. It's so big it can't take it on a plane. Like it's just ridiculous. Anyway, so those are the three price tiers, and I will say one of them had 0 pre-orders, but I have the numbers for the other two if you guys want to guess.
Okay, well, first off, we got to guess which one had 0 pre-orders. I'm pretty confident in my guess, but I feel like I'm going to be wrong because there's always people that have more money than they should. You know what I mean? Carrie, which one do you think, top, middle, or bottom tier, which one do you think is going to have 0 pre-orders?
I think it's the lowest tier has the 0 number, so the 385.
With $1,800.
Yeah, only because... typically, like Bill has said, and like how Gabe had noticed before, that a lot of people buy the most expensive version. So yeah, I'm going to say the 385 had zero orders. Rich,
do you agree or disagree with what Carrie said?
Carrie convinced me. I'm not going to bet against Carrie on this one.
Oh no!
I was with you, Bill. Or at least where I think you were heading. Like, it's just, man, someone would buy a $4,200 handheld.
Somebody would absolutely buy a $4,200
I think someone
handheld.
Would absolutely buy a $4,200 handheld. So I'm with Carrie. Yeah. The lowest one is the one that doesn't have a pre-order.
Yeah, you guys are correct. So,
okay.
Sorry.
No, now I know the answer, so it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, the
I was
lowest
going
tier
to be
one had
right
0.
the whole time.
Which is, it's
Yeah.
really interesting from their perspective. It's like, okay, we don't need to make any of the 385. We don't need this chip at all. We can just do
Right,
the 395, which is interesting. And so I can't remember what I said for the prices, but 2,300 for the 395. I'm looking at now 3,500. These are the early bird pre-order prices that you can no longer do. So it's 2,300 for the one with 64 gigs of RAM, and then the 128 gigs of RAM is 3,500. This is all before it goes to retail, which will be up to $4,300. So I have the numbers for those
crazy
ones
prices.
too.
I'll say
Okay.
real quick. Yeah, I'm going to say in the hundreds, not the thousands.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say in the
For
hundreds.
which tier?
Oh,
Oh, I meant total.
Oh, total. Total is, less than 200.
Yeah,
wait,
I'm gonna say most
total
of those
for
Total
all
for
three
all
tiers is less than 200.
less than 200.
I
Yeah.
mean, but that's kind of par for the course for these devices. Like they make
Yeah.
so few of them, which is why they have to be the
Yeah.
first ones to raise the price because they're
3
always
digits,
building new
yes.
shit.
They've had
Yeah.
they were maybe in the beginning, Carrie, you'd have to correct me, but like I want to say upper thousands, right? Like 7, 8. They had
Yeah.
units that were like 7, 8, 9,000 units
Yeah.
pre-ordered. Yeah, okay.
But those
Yeah.
are the Android devices usually.
okay, got it.
Also, definitely the
Lot
cheaper.
cheaper.
Ones.
Yeah.
But the typical, to give you an idea, like the Win 2, I think was probably one of the most successful boutique handhelds that came out in 2017, and there was nothing else like that. And I think that they were at like 60 to 70,000 units
Wow.
tops.
That is a
So
lot.
That's a whole lot.
but I mean, to any other company, that would be a gigantic. Like if Asus had 50,000 units, they'd be like, "Oh, this is a gigantic failure. We need to stop this immediately." But GBD is like, "Oh my god, this is fantastic success. Let's do this again." So typically, you have like 10,000 units or so that generally 10 to 20,000 units for the PC gaming handhelds. But then as prices started ballooning up, and then also the competition, that really started to eat into all that other stuff.
Yep. Yeah,
I think
that
the
makes sense.
competition, the thing is about these devices, the PC handhelds, is there's so many different form factors that you can get. And because none of these companies have the ability to say, we sold you a thing, now buy a bunch of games from us, they have to make the next thing. They have to. They don't have a choice. And the only way they can say, hey, here's the next thing, and not have everybody say, well, screw you, I already have a thing, is to make it more powerful. And there's like, so then they get into this ridiculous race with numbers to try and, get the bigger number better. And it has a, what's it called when it's the law of diminishing returns? You get
Right.
this law of diminishing returns, where eventually people are just like, yeah, I can't keep doing this. These things are too expensive.
Yeah. I will say you were talking about innovation too. And one Ayaneo handheld that goes a little underappreciated is the Ayaneo 3. I like those controller things. Like it could be better.
Those are the
in
ones
terms
with the pop outs.
Yes, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. So I was gonna say the controls themselves are like solid, not amazing, but the mechanic for popping them out, like it's really good. Like it's surprisingly robust from my usage of it so far. So yeah, I would like to see more stuff like that from them.
Yeah. So let me just give you the numbers so we don't have to belabor it too much. But so the middle tier, 112 people pledged for it. And then the high tier, the $3,500 pre-order, 30 people did it. So those are the numbers there. So they're small, but they raised $500,000 just based on that, which is crazy, just based on the money.
That is
Hey,
crazy.
those 30
That might
people
be-
will have limited edition consoles.
Yeah, that might be Hong Kong dollars. No, that's actually US dollars. Wow. Interesting.
That's
Hey,
really
yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
Wait, how does that $500,000?
That's what I'm saying. 177 backers raised and $446,000 is what it says on the Indiegogo. I don't know how they do the math, but yeah.
Oh, okay. When you turn it into, when you say $500,000, my brain says that's a lot bigger of a number than 400,000. So you're right. It makes sense. My brain was just being stupid.
I've been there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this. It's all bad news. We got to get to some good news. So we're going to move on to some good news, but not before you guys leave comments down below letting us know what you guys think of it. And we're going to talk about, let's switch over and talk about Crimson Desert for a little bit because I've been playing it. Rich has been playing it. Carrie, have you had a chance yet?
I didn't buy it. I didn't play it. I'm interested in it generally, but I'll wait for it to be on sale sometime later when it gets patched. So I'll just listen to you guys. I'll comment on things, but I'll have more questions than comments.
Oh, I like the questions. Russ, did you get a chance to play it or no?
Not at all. I still haven't seen anything really about the game. Maybe one trailer. That's it. So I'm coming in blind, and I want to hear all about it.
So my first question for Rich is: last week I had only played it for about 2 hours. I described my experience so far at that point. Before I talk about my experience since then, now that you've had a chance to play the game, how do you feel like I described it okay, or did you feel like, you know what, he missed some stuff?
No, I think you described it really well. I think my sort of 2 hour impression, I think I'm over 2 hours by now. I think I'm closer to 4 or 5, but let's just say my 2 hour impression is very mixed. It's kind of all over the place. So like, first of all, graphics are just gorgeous. And even I said it on the group chat. I've even been playing on the Legion Go S at 800p at like 20 something FPS, and it's surprisingly playable. Like it feels as good as, say, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, and it still looks gorgeous. Like it looks surprisingly gorgeous. But then also when you have ray tracing and you can get 60 plus FPS if you can get that high too, and you see all the shadows and stuff, it's just a really amazing looking game. So there's that. And so like I'm drawn into it just for that, right? Like just to see the world and see something new. But some of the quests, my goodness, they are so boring at first. And I hear that it gets really a lot more interesting the more you play. And I think part of that is like the intro's a little hard, not difficulty wise, but I think like it's not a really elegant introduction to the game. They don't like introduce a lot of mechanics, very well. Some of them, like you'll get like a tooltip and it'll disappear like that. You'll need to go back into your journal to see what it actually said.
That literally actually happened to me. I had to I was in the middle of reading it and I was like, oh shit, it's gone. What the hell was it talking about? That seemed important.
Yeah. And then you got to find which entry in the guides is that particular tooltip, right? So I had a lot of that, and I think, and the fetch quest, right? Like it is literally, at least early on, especially the side quests, it is almost all fetch quests. It's like, go get this for this person, which requires you to chop trees and then bring back the timber and do all of this refining. And each of those steps feels like it, at least at launch, like it takes longer than it should. And part of the reason I mentioned that is because they did drop a patch which improves a lot of that quality of life stuff, and so it goes a lot faster now. But yeah, so there are these moments that are just boring, right? But the world is so compelling, and I keep hearing about later on that I keep wanting to play. And when I just let myself forget about the boredom and just kind of immerse myself, I get really into it.
Yeah, I'm running into the same thing where the longer that I play, the more I'm enjoying it. I could not care less about a story for this game. This is what I would describe as a single player, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. It's a single player MMO. If you like playing MMOs and you just want to, if you enjoyed the leveling process in World of Warcraft, this is going to be something like that. The story, there's plenty of story there that you can look at if you want, but most of it's it's fine, whatever. They're not telling a huge story until you get to end game stuff in WoW. It's usually just little stories, and it's fine. The story I don't care about, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is really, really fun. Rich, you're 100% right about the graphics. They're unbelievably gorgeous, especially when you can turn on I forget what the special sauce is called. Like NVIDIA, it's called one thing, and on AMD, it's called another thing. But it's like this one ray traced something, maybe reflections. Or, I can't remember what it is called. But whatever it is, you turn it on, and suddenly you're like, oh, okay, things look really, really good now. And before they just looked pretty good, you know. Pearl Abyss has done an unbelievable job with this engine. It is really nice. Then you mentioned the patches, like just learning, like when you go up to a street post and you pull a bounty off of there and you like look at it, you have to like hold down the L button and then it will slowly fill up this thing. And then suddenly it turns it into English so you can read it. Like, why isn't it just freaking in English already? Why do I have to hold down a button to do this? But now that goes really fast. You push the button, it goes, it's filled. So, that's definitely a step in the right direction. Rush, you wanted to jump in here?
Yeah, I got a question. Like, I am just looking at, like, it looks to me like a medieval Tears of the Kingdom. Like, that's what I look like. Like, that's what I feel like I'm seeing right here.
Without weapon degradation.
Oh, that's good. So that was my question, was like how close is it to that? Like, is it really like that, like the weapon degradation? So that's answered. But then, like, you got to cook. Like, what kind of other extra stuff do I got to do? You know,
okay.
So
is it a required thing or?
Your healing is your food. Food is your healing, just like in Zelda. So you got to cook so you can have stuff to heal.
Yes, agreed, 100%. However, I will also say, so far, I know there are hard parts in the game, and I haven't gotten to any of them. But but everything feels really shallow so far, and so even the cooking, I feel like okay. So example, I did a quest that had me go into a bandit's cave. There was basically nothing in this bandit's cave except like a memory that I was supposed to watch. Meaning there was nothing like challenging, right? But there was loot. There was plenty of loot in there, including meat, just like marbled meat and like raw meat and tender meat. And so like I stocked up on that. And then there was a battle immediately after that, unrelated to the quest. And like I didn't cook. I just maybe used one of those pieces of meat to heal up. And that was all I needed, right? And so like most of the encounters you have, like there's a broad set of like combat options, but most of the time, at least so far, you're not going to need them. You can have them, but you're not going to need them. And I feel the same way about the food. I feel the same way about like mining. You can mine in this game. You can mine for iron and all sorts of like minerals that you can use for crafting. And so far, it just feels like that system is there if you want to engage with it. But if you don't, you're probably going to be fine.
Also, you don't have to go to the cooking pot to cook. You can just drop food on the floor, hold your sword up so that the light reflects off your sword, point it at the food, and it will cook.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So is there, last question, are there difficulty sliders? This is a very personal question for me.
No.
I don't know.
No.
What about level scaling?
There's no levels.
So
you don't level. Well, you get like...
So it's not really an RPG.
The levels you're thinking about, Bill. Yeah, you got to a question we were going to ask.
Yeah.
The levels you're talking about, Bill, are like community levels. Like how much have you contributed to this community or to this faction?
Yeah.
But there are plenty of ways that stat increases are necessary that don't happen through XP, but happen entirely through equipment. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So like you will need to upgrade your equipment, and your equipment has defense and attack and all of this stuff. You'll need to do that throughout the game.
So that feels to me
I've
like
had
how
to do that. Go ahead. Sorry.
That feels to me like how Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild is, right? Like you can get more hearts, but your upgrade system, your upgrade path is the equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
You have two upgrade paths. One of them you will get like we'll just call it a MacGuffin. You'll get a MacGuffin because I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you use that MacGuffin to unlock a part of your skill tree.
Yep.
But the devs have said there's so many. It's kind of like the Korok seeds.
Yes.
where there's so many of them
Yes.
that you're going to unlock everything in the skill tree. You don't have to make decisions. You just pick as you go. You're
Literally,
like,
I was just horse riding down the road, and there was one of those MacGuffins on the side of the road. Like, it was just there, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll grab that.
And you don't even need those things to unlock certain skills. Some skills you just get by seeing a boss do it. So, like, I've gotten to the first, I've finished the first boss fight, and that's the last time that I played because I was too busy. But I finished the first boss fight. Up until that point, every single fight was just like, get out of my way. I'm Reacher. Like, you guys saw Reacher. He solves all of his problems by being the biggest guy in the room, right? So he just comes in and he's beating everybody down. And, you know, that's me. I was just beating everybody down. I got to this first boss, and this guy just wrecked my house. Like, he absolutely destroyed me. So then I went out and I was like, okay, well, I got to upgrade my gear. So I'm going to go and find iron and timber, and I'm going to farm those materials. And then I'm going to go to the blacksmith and have him upgrade my shield and upgrade my armor and upgrade my sword, and then find a whetstone so I can sharpen my sword so it's even more powerful. And then I'm going to make up a bunch of food. And then I went back and I fought the boss and I won. And it was hard. It was still a tough fight because, like, I finished with like this much health left. And that was even with using my focus ability to slow down time so I could eat while he was like coming at me to refill my health. But the boss fights are tough. And I kind of forgot where I was. Like, why did I start talking about this? Because you said something, Rich.
You're a Reacher?
Yeah, we were talking about difficulty sliders.
And the different ways to upgrade.
Yeah, the different ways.
The different ways to upgrade,
Yeah.
So I guess I answered the question, but I don't think there's difficulty sliders. I'm not sure, though.
No,
I always find this so hilarious, like eating as like a way of recuperating health.
Yeah,
you know, can you just imagine someone in a battle and there's like, I gotta throw a bunch of mushrooms in my mouth. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hilarious. It's one of those things that breaks that like reality of like, you know, the role playing experience.
Yep.
Is there, since it's like there's a lot of parts that they took from Breath of the Wild, is there
and Dragon's Dogma and The Witcher, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So it's just a bunch of adventure games that they're like, oh, these things are cool. And
yeah.
Like, is there like a Triforce? Like, is there the Lost Woods? Do you need like McMuffins to get the Master Sword?
No, but I heard that. So this game has, you probably seen like these sky palaces, right?
Yeah.
And
I seen the thing where the dude like up super high and then he's like gliding down, and I think I saw not a stamina wheel or stamina something.
Yeah. So they have these sky palaces similar to the Tears of the Kingdom. They're called, that area is called the Abyss. And so yeah, I understand. From my understanding, they didn't have that until they played Tears of the Kingdom, and then they went back and added that in. So they definitely took a lot of inspiration. Russ, I think you would like it. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think you would like it, but I haven't gotten to the difficult parts yet.
Yeah, while you guys were talking, I added it to my wish list. So
yeah,
it's definitely a thing that it's like, these are all cool. Like this is the type of thing that it's almost like, you know, if going back in time, right, when you were sitting at a lunch table and you would all be talking to a bunch of people.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Be cool if one game had a bit like Tears of the Kingdom and Witcher and all this other stuff, and Pearl Abyss was like,
that's exactly
that's exactly
it, right? Like, it's like you made this up in a, you know, cold dream as a kid, and like now here it is, right? Like that's exactly what this is.
I mean, that's neat, but I don't want to pay full price for that. There's like,
I don't think you have to. Yeah,
it's a single player game. So although they are promising multiplayer down the road.
No, but I'm just not like, I saw it, and on face value, Rich has said it a few times, but there is this general shallowness that comes across, that it's like, man, all that stuff is super cool, but like, why are you doing any of this? Like, I don't care to have like I've said many times, I don't want to be like slathered with exposition about like X, Y, and Z about why you're doing something. I want the game to be fun. Yeah. I want there to be some, I want to play the game. I want to like the game first, but at the same time, there's lots of like, I need some type of cement. I
Yeah.
need something like an anchor of like what's going on. And I can't have like, oh, you have a jetpack, also dragons, and also robots
Right.
and gnomes and fairies. And it's like, pick a lane, guys. Like, pick something because I don't know what the hell this is.
Can I address
Yeah.
that before you go, Russ?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise, but I will say, number one, this game just has so much heart, and like you play that, and you can't help, even through the drudgery, you can't help but like be attracted to that. Like you can't help but be like, this game has riz just for trying this hard, doing everything. This game has it. That's how I feel. Even, I've said it in a couple times in a group chat of how I was bored. But through that, I still wanted to play. I think that it just has that heart. The other thing, just similar to that, right? Like, is like I think we talked about it, but like okay, so you can loot bandits or bad guys after you kill them, right? Mm-hmm. You can also gain trust of people and animals. So you can pet an animal and gain +5 trust. You can feed it food and gain like +20 trust. And if it trusts you enough, it will start to follow you and loot bandits for you. And then you can even dress those pets. And yes, you're right. Like, why? Who cares? But some of it is just because it's fun.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like I'm willing to, but there needs to be, I almost feel like, like Fez and Dark Souls even, right? They don't really like beat you over the head with a story. Kingsfield did this as well. But there's this ominous type of like, there's something deeper going on here, and I need to like spend time.
Yeah,
and even if
you're
it's
right.
like you have to like spend a ton of time, if they just did something where they were just like, you're using some of those powers that you have, like the Tears of the Kingdom power, you're moving stuff around, even Breath of the Wild, where you're like, rip and tear something in the universe, and then all of a sudden jetpacks come through, and it's like, oh, okay, the reason why all of this stuff is here, and I don't know why, but I just ripped through the universe and some technology came through. Like, okay, this is the land between, right? This is the land between things. And I would like, figuring that you don't even have to like spend that much time in stories. Like, how do we put all this stuff together?
You're right.
And I just feel like just throwing it all in there and just be like, oh, it's there. And kind of like allowing mystery on like how this stuff gets there would have been far more impactful for me, where I'd be like, oh, I really wonder what's there. And as it's there, as it's presented, it's just like, oh, here it is. And it's like, oh, all right, why? Like, is this just because? So that's my biggest thing, is I feel like if they just did like a little bit there, they could have done something a lot better. And it fell flat for me otherwise.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for storytelling. You're making me think of like, the Dark Tower series of books. You guys ever read all those?
Right.
So like in book 2 or 3 or something like that, they like go underground and they find a remnant of basically our modern world, and that their world is like, 1,000 years later, whatever. And that kind of explained why everything was kind of how it was, and why you could see some decrepit pieces of technology or whatever. Something like that would be very interesting. But my main question is not really about like, I don't really mind if they got jetpacks with the horses and everything else. My question is, does it feel like a derivative work? Like, because they're just pulling all these things together, is it its own thing? Like you think about Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. Sure, open world games have been made before, but none had been made in the Zelda world. None had been made with that little piece of like, just magic that they had there. Does this feel like it has its own identity, or is it just kind of a conglomeration of all the other ideas that they thought were going to be cool?
I think it's hard to answer that question after I've only been in the game for, I think I'm at like 12 hours at this point. So I'm not 100% sure. It just feels like generic ass fantasy. Like it just does feel generic. As far as pulling all of those things together, I'm not at the area where there are robots and stuff. I know that they're in there because I've seen them in the trailer, but that might be something that gets explained later on. As far as whether or not it has its own identity, I don't know, because it's not that kind of game. It's the kind of game where, and I've said this about Zelda before, the story doesn't matter. What matters is what happened to you, Russ, the player. Well, first I went over here, and there was a memory, or Rich instead, because he's actually played it. There's a memory in this cave, and then I fought some bandits, and then I got this meat, and then I ate the meat when I was fighting so I could heal. Like, that is the story of the game. And yes, they have this whole thing about you're the Greymanes, and there's these guys that are the bears or something that are the bad guys that tried to wipe out the Greymanes, and you're trying to rebuild the Greymanes. And yes, there is this overarching story there, but I'm going to be honest, I've been fast forwarding because I don't care. Also the fast forwarding, it doesn't just skip, it literally speeds up the dialogue.
Yeah.
So they're like,
That's
they're talking
neat.
Slightly faster. Like if you're listening to a podcast at like 1.3.
Yeah.
That's
you know
funny.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it does have an identity. I think it is separate from those things, even though it's very clearly inspired from those things. That identity does not live in the narrative at all, like Bill is alluding to. Like the narrative is disjointed. The voice acting is better than I expected. It's not great. It's just better than I expected. I think Bill, you set my expectations correctly where like, I was impressed almost by it, thankfully. But I think the identity sort of lives in this gluttony of systems where it's just like, who knows what you're going to run into when you play, right? So like whether it's a cave, someone described like, they made it into a place that looked like it was a prison, and they just found this thing, and there was no like treasure, there was no loot, it just existed, right? Like the designers just built this hidden prison or something, and it was just there, and that I think is the identity, and that's where I go back to like the heart that exists is just this weird conglomerate of things.
There's also, like you said, it's this combination of mechanics that are layered on top of each other. There's other mechanics that are just really interesting. Like, if you look at the map, you can see how different factions are controlling different areas of the map. And that's not static. That is constantly in flux and in motion. And you can go and be like, okay, I'm going to take over this camp, and I can see that this camp links to these other two camps. So if I take this one, then maybe they won't be able to control that one. But then you get distracted off doing something else, and you come back and they've retaken it, or some other faction has come in and taken it over. And that's exactly what this game is. It is mechanic on top of mechanic on top of mechanic. And every time some developer walked into the room and said, I had an idea yesterday, they said, say less, let's just do it. And I freaking love it. Like, one of the cool things that you can do in this game, you get a grappling hook relatively early. You can grapple a tree. You can then pull the tree towards you and then let it slingshot you across the map. So you reel in the tree, it bends towards you, and then you jump off the ground and it flings you off into the distance, and then you can use your little crow glider to kind of land slowly. It's amazing. Carrie, I see that you're talking, but nobody can hear you.
I muted myself. Apologies. I saw that GIF prior to like all like the hype train kind of building for this, and I was like, "Oh, that looks really cool."
I did it by accident yesterday.
Yes, I was aware of it. The only thing I wanted to like kind of add onto this was the part where they are working with Intel now, even though Intel was like, we've been trying to talk to you guys for years, and
that's good
because it doesn't work on Intel GPUs at all. Someone was like on their
like
FAQ,
at all?
they were like
it
doesn't work at all.
Yeah, they said go get a refund.
Yeah, like that was their
that
was their thing, is like, if you have an Intel thing, and then just ask for a refund. Like that was, so for me, what's the interesting part about all this thing, and I kind of like, there's bits here, is that they made a Macintosh build of this game.
Right.
Like that is the degree of like how much they did not want to like support Intel. Like they're just like, it's not gonna be in there. Well, let's not even waste any time. Let's put this on Mac, because
Wait, does it work on Intel Macs? I'm just kidding.
No, yeah. So here's another interesting bit. I think you guys know that Denuvo was announced like after the pre-orders were already going,
Yeah.
and everyone kind of like flipped out. Fun fact: the only cracked version of it is on Mac. So if you wanted to play it, because I guess they don't have Denuvo for Mac, you can play you can pirate it on Mac now. It's not on. They haven't cracked the Windows build just yet.
The NerdNest podcast does not condone piracy. Anyway.
Yeah, we no. The that's just, I don't know. It speaks volumes to me, right? Like that they didn't support Intel, they did support Mac, and they put Denuvo on it, but I guess Denuvo doesn't exist there. It's just a weird series of events of like these decisions of how it got there, and I'm just like, well, there it is.
It's funny. This whole time I've been watching like the developer stream here on Steam as you guys are talking, and I just still can't wrap my head around this game. There's so much going on, and I looked it up too. It's like, how long does it take to beat? They say about 50 hours. I'm like, how could you do this in 50 hours?
Way. No way.
Yeah, it's
can
so big.
Maybe beat it, but there's someone did a tweet where it was like they showed a map and showed what they've completed, and it was like maybe a quarter of the map they've completed all the quests, and then another quarter of the map they've completed like 50% of the quests, and then the rest like they barely touched, and they said they put in like 200 hours and they've gotten to that point. So like, yes, this is like all those jokes about like the Assassin's Creed games and how bloated they've gotten in terms of just number of things to do. This does take that to the next level.
Yeah. It's weird, and I'm probably not being fair to the game, right? But it just in looking at it and just in the world we live in, like my mind keeps thinking that this is not as much a game as it is content, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's so much stuff there, and my part of my brain too is like this feels like what an AI game is going to be like in the future. I know they didn't use AI. I know they got in some trouble where they like used some AI assets early on, and then they were still in the game, and they said they're going to take them out. I understand all that kind of stuff, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But I do feel like this is kind of where the AI games are going to be going at some point. We're like, oh, here's an AI, here's the kingdom, you know, and this is kind of almost what I envision, 10 years from now. So
So what you're saying is this is GameStop.
kind of, but it's a good game. It looks like a good game. It looks like there's a lot to it, but just in the world that we're living right now, as a guy who's just looking at it, like that's where my brain is going.
And I'm not mad at that criticism at all. I think that's fair.
No.
I think, also the flip side of that criticism that I think you're going to see a lot of, especially as these game prices are going up, hardware is going up, is like, I think we're going back to people valuing dollar per hour, right? Like how many dollars did I spend for how many hours of game I got out of it, right? And
I hate that.
I don't think that ever stopped. I think that's always existed to a degree. There was some pushback.
Right.
But then I'm not saying that you're not incorrect. I think that there's going to be a bigger swell of it, especially as things get tougher. I don't. That for sure never died.
That's fair.
That has always been there.
Yeah, and I do think there'll be a swell, and I think you're right. It hasn't fully died or really died. And Bill, I also don't love it. Right, like that's not how I look at games anymore. But I do empathize with that. Right, like I have in the past looked at games that way. There once upon a time when I was thinner on dollars, right? And so like I get it. If you spend $70 on this and you're not looking for the craziest game of all time, you're going to get a lot of, as Russ said, content from this. Whether or not that's engaging, that's definitely subjective.
This is the kind of game where I feel like, all right, I'm going to play the game, but at the same time, I'm going to listen to a podcast or grab my laptop and set it on the table in front of the couch and put on a YouTube show or something like that to watch at the same time. Like this is that second screen experience that is one of the reasons I love playing MMOs, even when I play them solo, is just you're going through the world and you're doing this stuff, and it's just something to keep you occupied. It's like, I don't know, it's just enjoyable. But Rich, and this is the last thing that I want to say about this, because we have been talking about Crimson Desert for a really long time. Rich, you asked a question in our private Discord, and you phrased it in a very specific way. You said, I'm not allowed to think about it, I just have to answer. Go ahead and ask that question.
Is Crimson Desert an RPG? And you gave me an answer. Yeah. Yep.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And my reason for that, although now, because I thought about it afterwards, my reason for that is I don't feel like my decisions matter in the same way that my decisions in Zelda don't matter. Like, Link's always the good guy, and he's always going to be the good guy. Sure, I could steal stuff in this game. I could walk up and put on a bandit mask and steal some stuff from somebody or murder somebody in town and have the whole town come after me. But when I do a quest, so far, I haven't had any chance to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to side with the bad guys here and rob you guys or anything like that. It just doesn't feel RPG-ish. It feels way more just like an adventure game. Carrie, you look like you were going to say something.
No, I think that's fair enough. I think, that they are very much adventure games. Like Metroid and Zelda, to various degrees, they're maybe, different in various ways that they are, but they also are similar in a lot of ways. And I feel like both saying they're adventure games at their core to some degree is that's correct. I was going to say, well, you're playing the role as Link, but then, you are right. You don't really he has to go through this linear path through the story. There's some divergence there, but it's it's super shallow. So you're really just playing this adventure story that is already done, and you're just kind of going through the beats, which I is completely fine. But I do think that some of the biggest RPGs that the people say, like Baldur's Gate 3, is how much freedom and agency you have to solve something, and it's not just just one of three things, or good and evil and whatever. And then the better ones are like how much variety you have in accomplishing something. So I did kind of back away from that. I do generally think that they're adventure games.
Yeah. I think so the reason I asked partially is because, first of all, it doesn't matter, right? Like whether or not it's an RPG doesn't really matter, but it's just one of those fun things to discuss. Go ahead, Gary.
I mean, you can't it's kind of like a single player MMO RPG, and it's like, except it's not an RPG. So it's kind of like a single player MMO that is completely systemic and all disparate. And is like what,
right. Yeah. Right. And even doing the genre thing is already hard, right? Like trying to figure out, especially around the boundaries, whether or not something fits is already a difficult thing to do. But in an RPG, that genre in particular is rife with what does this mean, right? But the reason I brought it up was because Pearl Abyss, right, in their marketing basically advertised this as not an RPG. And that is the one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that is the one kind of promise. Not promise, but that is one of the pieces of marketing that sort of attracted me to it. Not because I don't like RPGs, but because I felt like, oh, I can get into this quickly. Right. Like and that's where this feels like an RPG to me. And I guess what I mean by that is like, I do have to care about stats. Even though it's not XP, I do have to care about stats. And I may have to level myself up to fight a boss. And I have to spend time in menus. So inventory management is a big thing. Bill, it wasn't a big thing for you, it sounds like, but I think a lot of people have run into this issue where they have too much stuff and they have to find a place to put it, to the point where that's one of the big things in that new patch is they've expanded, or I think they gave you this additional storage area.
You get new storage. Like I constantly get a little notification saying 3 new storage slots added. Also, every time you go to a vendor, check and see if they have a bag. The bag is literally storage.
Oh, okay. We'll do.
And it's 50 copper, and it increases your storage slot by 1. So check every vendor.
All right, I'll check that out. But they added a separate storage, right? Like your private storage, so you can go to your tent and drop stuff off there. That was added to in the patch, or it was upgraded in the patch. I don't really remember. So yeah, this amount of time that I'm spending in menus is what feels like an RPG to me. And I felt like, oh man, that's not what I was expecting. Yeah.
So I got a question, kind of a curveball. So were you talking earlier about dollars per game time, like the value there? So just real quick, what would you consider to be like the best like dollar per amount of hours you can spend? But I got a couple rules. One, it can't be like a free game because that's just like cheating, you know? So like a game that you buy, but you got so much that you get from it that it just makes it so much worth it, you know? And that could be a $60 AAA title, or it could be something indie. So the game that I thought of just in my head was Ball Pit, just because that's a $15 game retail that often goes on sale. And there's so much you can do in that, so much fun, and a lot of time. I mean, I'm still playing that often, you know.
It's really good.
So what other games are like that you guys can think of that other people I didn't hear about? I already kind of know what Rich was going to pick, and so I didn't pick that one.
I'm going to pick what you I want to. Okay, I'm going to make a prediction about what Rich is going to pick, and then Russ, I want you to tell me if you think that we said the same thing. Does that make sense? All right.
Sure.
I think Rich would have picked Sectori.
No,
That's a good game. I think I know, Russ, what you think I'm going to pick. It's not what I thought of, but Balatro?
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Duh.
Yeah. It's such a good choice, you know, but it's not immediately the one you think of, you know.
Yeah.
And so I initially was thinking Marvel Rivals, but I'm like, no free games, because that's just like too easy.
Yeah. No, I like Balatro. I think that is probably a better choice than what I was going to pick, which is the first thing that came to my mind was Spelunky. So I think, you know, we're talking so far all about roguelikes between Ball Pit, Spelunky, Balatro, and I think no question, your dollar per hour of like, and not just per hour, but like per good hour is just so high with roguelikes. So no, I'm going to stick with your choice. I'm going with Balatro.
Okay.
I don't have
Carrie,
an
what do you
answer.
got? What was that one you were playing all the
That's
time?
a long sigh.
No, there was one you were playing a lot. I just lost the name of it. But it was, I don't think it's a roguelike. Brotato?
Oh,
Rotato I was
he
playing, but
played that a lot.
when I mean, I did play it a lot, but I also played Vampire Survivors a whole bunch, and
Yeah, good choice.
Oh, I got one.
yeah,
When you're done.
probably if it's gonna be something recent, something that I think the one that was like the repetitive side, Vampire Survivors is probably one that immediately pops out insofar as that it really gripped my brain, and even though it was terribly simple and terribly repetitive, I wanted to get back to it, and that is probably the one I would choose, but for slightly different reasons. Instead of the like dollar value thing, it's more of like engaging, like brain engagement, is what I would say, if that makes sense. But so I'll say Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I think there's a
Here's mine
before
right
you
there.
say yours. Oh no. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no,
sorry.
that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the
Raiders,
audio
perfect.
listeners, it's Arc Raiders. It's $40. I got 84 hours into it. I could easily sink another 100 into it. No problem.
And I think there's a fair argument too for some of those AAA titles. I mean, like Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto, like, you know, there are people still playing those games, the Legend of Zelda games and stuff like that. Yeah, Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim.
That's a
Minecraft.
great choice.
And I'm going to go back to the Zeldas, right? Like those are those two pair or that pair of games. Just, I sunk a lot of time into those.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, let us know what you guys think. If you've been playing Crimson Desert or if you have not, why not? But let us know what you guys think. And what is your game, to answer Russ's question, that is like the game that you bought that you spent X, but you got so much more out of it than you expected? Let us know in the comments section down below. We've been going for 2 hours already, and we have so many more stories that were in the show notes. We're going to have to cut it short. But don't go, because I want to hear what Russ has to say about Grind Survivors. What is this game? I've not even heard of this.
Yeah, so I think we briefly talked about it when we were talking about Steam like demos during Next Fest and stuff. So this is one of them that I played. It finally came out. So this is a Vampire Survivors like, but with a gun. And you can use it like twin sticks, so you can actually aim your gun around, like kind of play it like Robotron, you know.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have to. It just can auto shoot as well. It'll just auto shoot the guy closest to you. It's really interesting. I've been playing it, I don't know, like past 3 or 4 days. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $12. I think it's on sale right now. And what I like about it is that, with Vampire Survivors, you have all these, and with Ball Pit and stuff, you've got all these characters and they each have their own perks, and you've got to like go through the same motions, but with each character. And I kind of don't like that, like there's some things that are cool, it unlocks and stuff, like the garlic guy in Vampire Survivors. That's great, but, this one, I don't know if you change your character. I think it's always the same guy, but you change your guns. And that's the way that you change your perks and everything else, is that you'll pick up guns. You can upgrade those guns. You can keep one and then kind of keep upgrading it by breaking down other guns, and so that's a really interesting factor to it as well. And it's got a very simple, like very Ball Pit feel, where it's got 3 bosses. And so you go through each 3 of these bosses as you go up. And then it's like you finish one level. And it's like, okay, you beat it at difficulty 1. Now play it at difficulty 2, which is just basically more enemies, with harder enemies and stuff. And then there's also levels. So there's just a lot to this game. But it is very much so, if you're burnt out on Vampire Survivors, you may not like this one. But I like the gun mechanic, because you can kind of aim where you want to, no matter what. And then you can choose your gun. If you want a spread gun, you want something that's a little more accurate, but more powerful, you have all those options too. But then also you can, my best example is like when you're playing and there's a boss coming at you and there's all these other minions running after you, your auto aim is just going to shoot at anything that's closest, but you really just want to focus on the boss. So you can then force it to just shoot at the boss, and then you're kind of running away from the minions and stuff. So it does add additional layers of complexity to it compared to Vampire Survivors, and I'm enjoying it. I barely scratched the surface, but I have beat like a run a couple times already, and it does unlock a lot of stuff. It's kind of fun. And you've got skill trees, so you can eventually get your guy stronger over time, faster reload or whatever. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I think it's worth it. Like right now it's on sale for less than $10.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's kind of crazy how like there's just so many Survivors likes that like I feel like no matter what like aesthetic you prefer, you can probably find something that you like. Russ, have you heard of, I can't remember the name. I'll find it. But the one, have we talked about it here? The one that is like, it gives like a front mission sort of aesthetic. It's like a PS1, Sega Saturn, low poly style, and you play as mechs. Yeah. All right. I'll find it. Because I think you would definitely be interested. Yeah.
Yeah. This one feels like a mix of Vampire Survivors and Doom and Diablo is kind of how it feels. Cause it's very dark, very gory, and kind of has that same kind of look to it as well. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. It's got a heavy metal soundtrack to it. So
nice. I just thought of another game that has a really good cost to gameplay hour ratio, and that is Valheim. Like you can play that one for hundreds and hundreds of hours, and it's a cheap ass game, and it's really fun. Rich, you had one more thing that you wanted to share before we jetted out of here.
Yes. So I want to shout out the Post Games podcast, which is a new podcast by like Chris Plant, who, if you watch the Besties, Russ, because you've been on the Besties. So Chris Plant is one of the Besties, and he's still on there, but he's doing his own podcast that is a little more like journalist oriented. And he's done these amazing, amazing interviews. One with the author of Super Nintendo World, I think is the name of the book, a new book by Kevin McDonald. One with the developers of, now I'm going to forget the name. I think it's called Reloaded, maybe, the game that takes where like African protagonists recapture like museum artifacts. So like it's like a heist game.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. So he's done all of these cool interviews. They're very thoughtful, very like he puts a lot of effort into them. And I'm just really enjoying that podcast.
Very cool. All right. Well, it's been 2 hours. You guys could have been anywhere, but you hung out with us, and I appreciate it. Russ, tell everybody where they can find your stuff and what you're working on next, man.
So I'm at youtube.com/retrogamecore, CORPS, and I'm currently working on the MacBook Neo, trying to get an emulation to work on it. It's kind of crazy. I mean, the thing is literally just an iPhone chip in a laptop, but man, I'm getting some pretty good PS3 gameplay on it. Some games, some crash. But so I'm going to play everything I can think of. I've been working on it for the past few days now, and I'm impressed. I mean, I don't think people are buying the device for gaming, but pretty cool to be able to, play your favorite classic games.
Very cool. Carrie, what are you working on? You got anything new?
I do, but it's
top secret.
Slow going. I've made progress, but It's top secret, and I don't want to talk about it because I might just scrap it because I've been working on this for actually months, bit by bit. So I have made progress. Things look promising, and then I hit a roadblock, and then it's like all over again. So I haven't done anything in 2 weeks. I will probably pivot in it sometime soon. But there is something new coming on the horizon that I can't talk about just yet. And we'll talk about that later, but nothing probably for next week either.
And when you're ready to talk about it, you can find out about it where?
YouTube.com/TheFox.
That's right. And then Rich is still on hiatus, but YouTube.com/
Fan the deck.
That's right.
Fan that deck.
Fan the deck. Go check out those guys. Click the subscribe button down below. It'll take you to all of their channels, and we will see you on the next one. Until then, stay rad, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.